Hello, welcome to the Hoopty Cast. That is the name. We're sticking with it. If you don't like it, I know some of you were frustrated that we changed the name now, that it's not the old name anymore, but there are too many complaints. So it is now Hoopty Cast now and forever. And every week, my friend, well, I guess one of you are my friend this time. My friends, Elliot, Alvis, and Rob Santori, tell me a story. They alternate, and I'm entertained, and hopefully you are too. And with the way things are growing and the feedback, other than the name, people seem to be liking it. Mm-hmm. So feel free to subscribe to the YouTube channel where you can see us visually, or on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. And then we have a Patreon, but this week, Elliot is talking about the worst automotive recalls of all time. And Elliot, thinking during his research, I sure wish, with all the women in my life, I could get a recall notice in the mail about them.
Absolutely.
But then he probably wouldn't listen to it like he never does to any of his friends or anybody anyway. So
I mean, we try.
We try to steer him in the right direction, but anyway.
Thanks, guys. Open it up, right to it.
So that's that. Yeah, Elliot, what's new with you?
In the car world, not a whole lot.
It could be anything.
Oh,
it could be, yeah.
I just recently had a very calm, quiet week. It was great.
Okay.
No comment on why, but I did help a friend who is a girl buy a car, and that was a fun process as usual.
What'd you get?
Mazda CX-5. So good choice. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Brand new. Our Mazda dealership is great. I've never bought anything brand new from them here, and the finance guy is a fan of yours, so
okay,
that helps.
That was fun.
I bid on a car today.
Did you?
A Prius.
Oh,
2008 Toyota Prius.
That's just like mine.
And it's leather, and it had the nice wheels.
So it's the touring model.
The touring model.
Yeah. Wow.
350,000 miles. Looked like somebody did a river dance on the roof.
Oh.
Didn't have the triangle of death as far as the battery failure light, but it had the check engine light, traction control, all that stuff. My max was $500. I got outbid $550.
Oh.
And it sold. But it drove, looked pretty presentable. Yeah.
Didn't have an option to go to 6? Or
$500 was my max for the video. I wanted to be the $500 Prius. And I wanted to talk about, like, now 7-8 years later, you can get those battery packs in 10 for like $300
They're
now.
way cheap now.
Way cheap. What's $1,000 now? It's $300. So, like, there's enough these people keeping them going and junk parts and all that stuff to where they might be the cheapest car to keep running on the planet
and
at
it's
this point.
Fascinating you found the leather one, because one of the funniest facts at the time, which the reason Priuses get a bad rap is because of the owners and how up their own butts they were, and outspoken about it. But the people who got obviously they wanted the nicest one, which is the touring with leather.
Yes.
But then they felt guilty that it had leather. So they would ask dealers to swap the seats out with the cloth cars. So there's a lot of cars out there that have mismatched seats because these people would throw fits about they don't want it. It's a bad look if I have a Prius with leather.
It was barely still leather. At this point, it was so shrunken and hard, it might as well be concrete cinder blocks that you're sitting on.
It already started out as not good leather, so I can't imagine 350,000 miles and how many years later.
It was rough. So that was my near miss today. I know, Rob, you've all excited about what you've purchased.
I am.
Yeah, you towed something home.
I did tow something home from Eureka Springs. I bought a 1985 BMW 535i manual.
Very cool.
That had been sitting for a decade?
9 years under a tarp, though. So that's a good
Still
thing.
Outside.
No, it was inside under a tarp.
Okay.
So it was protected, but I mean, it's one owner from 1985 to 2015, and didn't tell me anything about service records I just saw the condition. It looked really nice. The paint looked nice.
It has the wrong wheels for sure.
The wheels are horrible. Whatever wheels he put on, he had said the metric. No, the ones that came with it, I bet in 85 were metric, so hard to find tires. So he put these sporty wheels on, which are hideous. So yeah, those are already gone.
Basket weaves.
Oh yeah, and I got a set of 15 basket weaves off a marketplace for $200.
Perfect.
Grabbed those.
Nice.
The cool thing about the car was I popped in the glove box and it had a couple service records, but there was like this little false door, with a cloth on it, and I pulled it off, and back farther deeper was every service record since new.
Wow.
And we're talking about $30,000 to $35,000 in service records on this car.
My goodness. It probably still needs $30,000 to $35,000 in work.
No, I mean it runs, which is good. Yeah, I can drive it around.
Did you drive it onto the trailer?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
So it drives on the trailer. On the test drive, if you did any more than half throttle, it would just cut. It would just buck and cut. But that's probably bad gas.
10-year-old out.
Yeah, it's sat for so long. It's probably, but I mean, it idles good. It revs fine.
How much was this?
$5,000.
That'll do.
Yeah,
For that era. Yeah,
for what
it's
it
not
was.
rusty. It's
No,
it's,
no rust
yeah.
at all. It's pretty much all been replaced. That the one bill that I had found from a shop in Springfield was $17,000 worth of work done to this car. None of it to the engine, like none of it.
And that was in one stop.
One
right?
stop. And it was so much that
Ouch.
the actual owner or the shop owner sent a personalized letter with it that he saved that was like, thank you so much. Nice to meet you and your wife. You're wonderful people. I hope he enjoys his quote unquote new car. And I saw that first and I'm like, what does he mean by new car? And then I saw the other pages and it was every part. Like literally it was just, they basically gave him a blank check.
Because he paid for like a kid's year at college with this one
yeah.
car.
I mean, it was unbelievable.
Well,
and so
if there's any doubt that BMWs are a labor of love, this guy has spent the sticker price over again just to keep it for 40 years.
Yeah. Well, I drove all the way out to your neck of the woods, which Ellie and I don't like the west side of Wichita. It's too far away. Rob moved there to save money.
That's not why I moved
because you
there.
can get a nicer house
Oh my
out there.
God.
You can.
But there's not much to do, and getting around on the west side's really hard, and it's all wrong. So I bought a car out on the west side, the Lincoln Town car. I needed to pick up the title. I decided to go out in the clown shoe just to exercise and give it some miles. I'm leaving. I'm 25 miles from home, and the radiator explodes as I'm leaving the Ford dealership. So that was my fun. I don't like going on the west side anyway, but that was my fun adventure yesterday.
Leaving it right before a storm that we were all like texting each other
there's
about.
my 5 Series.
Right?
And
There
was-
it is.
Yeah, wow, look at
Look
that.
at those ugly wheels.
Dude, okay, so
They're gone.
my friend's 3 Series 87 when we were in high school had those same wheels. Must be a popular.
Yeah,
Idiots
it's not
have to
bad. I
bring-
mean,
yeah.
it needs basket weaves badly, but
Yes.
it's a great shape. The M5s of these are just legendary and huge collectibles. So, I would say it's far from your worst purchase, Rob. I'm very proud of you.
Thank
But
you.
Nice work.
I wish BMW had recalled their cooling systems back in the day from turning into glass and just falling apart, but they never did, right?
No, they did not.
They did one over like a Nicosil engine on BMWs back in the 90s, I think. There
Right.
was the
lining.
like the 540s or whatever.
Right.
And they'd replace a bunch of engines, but nothing like today. So, like the current recalls are just insane. Like what Toyota went through with the Toyota Tundra, and I think some Lexus where they replaced hundreds of thousands of engines. And now the GM, which I think is probably in your list.
Oh, yeah. That
Where is
one's
it
in
like
there.
600,000 or 700,000 engines they have to replace 6.2 liters?
Ongoing. It's crazy.
It's nuts. And I was curious. I wonder how far recalls go. Like back in the industrial age when people were getting sawed in half at work for 5 cents an hour. Like, did they do recalls? And if they did recalls, they probably had to be really, really bad.
Right.
But I was curious about the history of recalls. So that's what I assigned Elliot, and looks like he's got some pages for us.
I do. This was a fun one to research. So normally, like I said, I can speak off the cuff for a lot of stuff, but this was one I was like, you know what? I actually really need to look into this. I don't know when this stuff started, but it was a lot of fun looking up, and I was fascinated with a lot of these. So what I've kind of done is compiled in an order a list of recalls over time that were statistically significant, crazy, or just, like I said, just like one of those, wow, everybody remembers that one kind of a thing.
Okay.
Surprisingly, so I do want to start out with, in case nobody knows, the web. Jeez, I don't know why I'm spitting
You're
this
all
out.
right.
The definition of a recall is a request from a manufacturer to return a product after the discovery of safety issues or product defects that might endanger the consumer or put the seller at risk of legal action. And that's
Which-
important to note.
Now they'll bury their heads in the sand for most things. It seems like serious mechanical issues. As long as it's not going to kill people, they just sort of ignore it. But,
Exactly.
my Mercedes Maybach is one where they did that big recall, and I'm having a video on that soon
I was
because
just going to ask you, I think that was just got back from getting a recall fix, right?
it's the granddaddy of recalls as far as something I've experienced for like $20-something thousand worth of work done for free on a
Wow.
20-year-old car with over 100,000 miles. So,
Jeez.
yeah.
Excited to
but-
hear about that.
But they don't do that anymore. They just, if the cars come out with something defective, as long as it's not going to kill the people, they just ignore it
That
and
is
let the warranty run out.
Generally true. And like I said, that was the whole putting the seller at risk of legal action is way more what they're worried about than
Right.
any of this other stuff. So anyway, I was looking up and I was like, okay, I remember recalls from childhood or whatever because they make the news when they're big enough.
Yes.
But it turns out the very first automotive recall was in 1913.
You were around back then? You were a
no,
child?
no, I don't remember this one.
Okay, with all your gray.
Yeah.
you might be
Close.
surprised. No, but so one of the things that's important to remember in 1913, we had a whole bunch of auto manufacturers, but only really one big one, Ford. So these other small mom and pop manufacturers weren't recalling things. But this one was a fascinating reason. It wasn't a mechanical reason. It wasn't because the brakes would fail or anything like that. These were pretty reliable cars. This was a recall because consumers were coming in complaining that they were getting itchy after driving. And a lot of these, not the one in the picture, have what's called a mohair seat. It's a type of fiber.
Are you telling me these cars had headlights?
They more or less. So what happened is this one has leather. It's very nice. But I really thought this. I was like, okay, mohair. I've driven in my dad's old Fords with shorts. It's prickly.
Yeah?
It's kind of itchy. No, what really happened is these people were legit getting bites from bugs with nothing else happening other than I just drove my Ford and then I got these bites. And it seemed improbable at first. But they had to address it. And they were like, what is causing this? Well, it turns out a bunch of mites live in what Ford likes to ship its cedar in and happen to be stuffing the seats with. They stuff the seats with a substance called Spanish moss. And if you've ever been anywhere in the South, it's everywhere. It's this stuff. It's this dangly things that hang off the trees. If you've ever been on a swamp tour, it's Spanish moss. It's easy to grab. It's practically free. And Ford, being the economic company that they are, was using it as packing material for a lot of the wood in the Model Ts. But most importantly, they were taking Spanish moss and filling the seats with it instead of like cotton or whatever, it's like stuffing.
But it came from the outdoors on trees, and so there's bugs in it.
There's tons of mites in Spanish moss. I mean, I remember my mom, when I went on a gator tour, she was like, don't touch the Spanish moss. I'm like, why? She made it sound like if you touch it, you're going to get mites. But
That's a motherly thing to do.
It was one of those things that I've just always associated that with Spanish moss now. But it was a very cheap seat stuffing. And like I said, it's just, that would be an ottoman at home that somebody used for Spanish moss.
Oh, I could see something living in that for sure.
And I have felt it is quite fluffy. And like I said, you just grab it. It makes sense to do it.
Fluffy and you just grab it.
I wonder what my Packard has from 1923.
Well, those mice would probably be dead.
Right. But I wonder what they were using for the stuffing, because mine's original.
Probably the same, right?
But yes, it was harboring lice and fleas that bit occupants, mites. Yeah. So what did they do? Obviously, they sent out letters to people. And this is 1913. Obviously, the Ford's doing well, but still not everybody had one. So it was manageable, I would say. It affected about 6,000 vehicles. It's hard to tell because the records aren't very good. They didn't go, hey, maybe we should record this massive recall. There's not a whole lot on the actual numbers, but they did have the number. They did a no-cost fix. They would just restuff your seats with I don't know what, but not Spanish moss. And it cost Ford $150,000 in 1913, which is like, hey, that's not too bad. Adjusted for inflation in today's money, that's $4 billion.
Oh my God.
870 million. Oh no, 4,870,000.
Wait,
no, 4,870,000, which it was still a crazy amount of money for 6,000 cars.
Wow.
It was just, obviously, I even have right here that Ford's upholstery supervisor, C.B. Smith, was in some trouble.
Oh, he didn't get fired?
No, apparently not.
Okay.
It was one of those, because it's a good idea. That just apparently those guys live through the drying process.
So that's the first documented
It was the first
one you
documented
find.
mass recall.
Wow.
For itchy, bug-filled seats. And they only get more fun from here.
Okay.
Yeah, the next one, I wouldn't say as interesting, nor a company that a lot of people would know. But in 1955, obviously there were a few in between, but this was the next kind of biggest one. In 1955, a company called Nash, who was famous for making the Rambler, had to issue a recall for their fuel filler neck. Now, this is going to be a common theme throughout the years. These were, I don't know, people love them. I've never been like nuts about them. They're kind of cute little cars. City cars, the Nash Rambler. But the issue was that, back in the day, we've all had old cars. If you fill up an old car, you can literally open the trunk and see the fuel filler neck going straight
in
the thing. So this one was, the fuel filler neck was misaligned on some of the models, allowing gas to overflow when you fill it up and drip onto hot exhaust, which would obviously be bad. So, could cause a fire. There weren't a whole lot of there wasn't like when this goes in the future where people were catching on fire. They recognized it was a risk and they sent out some stuff to do it. It only affected about 11,200 vehicles, but that's a lot considering, Nash is kind of a niche brand. it only cost them $200,000 in 1955 money to fix, and basically they just kind of realigned everything.
But not after somebody famous burned to the ground in an ash or anything like
nothing
that.
like that happened. It was just one of those. Somebody caught it and they were like, "Hey, this could be bad. Let's fix it." It didn't really get that much media outlet because I do have a section for one of these, like, what was the public opinion of this? Because the Ford one, it was like it was newspapers and they were like, "Oh, there's bugs in the seats." You know, it was
Well, how many Nashes were running around then anyways? That wasn't a particularly popular
they were a
car.
pretty new car.
Yeah, I would say that was probably more of a niche car back then.
And AMC had a pretty good reputation for reliability. So, like I said, it didn't really tarnish them. They just were like that. One of the headlines was called "Rambler's Rare Recall." Like it was a shock.
And I bet that people saw this recall of fuel lines breaking and getting on the exhaust and causing a fire and did it immediately. They didn't wait 3, 4, 5 years and then pass it on to the next owner.
Every friggin'
Which is what
episode.
Rob did to me
Every
with his
episode.
Ferrari 355 that he sold to me. Is the 355 on your
The
list?
355 is not on here, but because I
Good.
figured it was going to get
That
brought
was
up
a
no matter what.
recall. And I got a letter. The moment I registered the car, I got a letter. And I had it scheduled to get done. But it died within 2 weeks of me having it scheduled to get done. Rob had years. He never did it. And it destroyed a
When
Ferrari
did you get the
355.
letter?
Yeah,
right when you got the car, right?
Right when I got the car.
Yeah,
As
and
soon
then
as it was
7 months
registered.
later, it burned down.
7 months?
I had it a while.
No.
Yes.
Okay, wait, hold on. In Hooptycast court, did you ever get the letter?
No, never.
But you knew all about it. You were in the
No.
Ferrari forums. You knew
How would
all
I know
about it.
all about
You
that?
knew all. How could you be
How
that
many-
ignorant of a Ferrari owner to not know about the fuel line recall on the 355s?
I wasn't ignorant. No, there was nothing about it that I ever saw. I had it into 3 different shops. None of those shops knew about it. They
They're not
should know
Ferrari
better than I
specialists.
would.
Ferrari
No,
dealers.
no.
Oh, they should know. One of them was a decent.
Any Ferrari dealer would have done it for free. It's widely known. If you had made one post about it, somebody would have said something. No, that was a big mistake on
We
your
don't even
part.
know if that's
So,
what failed. That's what caused it. Yeah, allegedly.
absolutely what
you
failed.
don't know.
It's
proof.
very obvious,
Did you
yes.
did you have someone look into that after it burned down? No, it's Freddie has it.
anyway,
You don't. You're just going to bring it up
Anyway.
every episode.
the Ferrari
every-
355 was on this list, and if I was a much more conscious owner, even though a Ferrari dealer is not close to here, I was going to ship to California for my car week and then leave it to the
Oh,
Ferrari dealer to
God.
get fixed.
Here we go.
So I had a plan. Rob had for years didn't have a plan because I pay attention to my cars and take care of them. But anyway, moving on to the next recall.
Forget. No, I want this in Hoopty Court.
It's pretty. I know it's,
We're gonna
it's
have Hoopty
Hooptycast court. I was like, I just want to know how much information Rob had about this, and I knew it was
None.
going to get brought up. I didn't even
None.
put it on the list.
He's forgotten. he
Well,
definitely-
I do get the mail once every month.
But
in
you
fairness,
do-
But
you
usually
do
I wouldn't
remember-
notice a prancing horse letter?
You knew about
Yes.
the fuel line recall back in the day. You, in the passage of time, your brain has forgotten that nugget to make you feel better about yourself. And
No
your car getting
chance. If
destroyed.
I knew that thing had a chance to
No.
burn down while I was driving it, I'd fix it for free. I'm not that lazy. I'm a lazy dude.
That car broke down while you were driving it.
Many times, but it never burned down.
Oh, because you were like,
Well, that's how I got it. The coolant line fell off. It was a 5-minute fix, but that was after you'd parked it for 6+ months because a coolant line.
Well,
a
you
coolant
wanted it
rose.
broken.
But
So I
you
didn't
had
fix it.
after you had parked it for 5 or 6 months and not fixed it over a hose because you were
God.
mad at it.
Daddy Hoovie's mad at me.
I will say this in Hoopty court, the jury is not looking at you
No.
in a positive light here. Rob.
Anywho, so that was 1950s. How
Okay,
many?
yeah,
how we're
back
looking-
to your
Breezing through, this one's a quick one because it's really not that big of a deal, but it's America's favorite little cute car. In 1963, kind of beginning of peak popularity, they recalled the Volkswagen Beetle.
Oh no!
No,
Yeah, the
not Ted
cute little
Bundy's
thing.
car.
I know, and it wasn't for anything dangerous. It was depending on your definition, it was for a wiper motor recall.
Oh no!
Corrosion would get in there and cause the wipers to stop working.
Well,
and
that's
you
cheap.
wouldn't have wipers.
Okay.
It's not the end of the world, but
Well, this couldn't have been an expensive fix. for
well,
them.
the problem is it affected so many cars. So before we're in 1,000, 11,000. In 1963, it's a popular vehicle, and I'm only saying for the U.S. Volkswagen USA, 223,000.
Herbie was in 1963.
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
So that's how Herbie came to life was through the wiper motors.
Yeah,
getting
apparently so.
shorted out.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they gave it a mind. It
He
gave
would have,
it a
his would have been
consciousness.
corroded.
Yes.
Yeah. So it cost Volkswagen of America. They just rebuilt the motor, sealed the brushes, and dealer labor, and kind of essentially patched it. $275,000, which is $2.888 million into this money.
It
Quite a bit.
takes all of 1 minute to take out a wiper motor. So that's yeah.
pretty quick swap.
Yeah.
But a lot of vehicles affected for 60s. I mean, this is
Right.
still kind of new for people even having to deal with, a all of these are going to have this problem. You know, it's a kind of a new
Right.
idea.
And an automaker, if that happened nowadays with a wiper motor on a car,
Tough crap. But it's a wear item.
if it failed under warranty, they'd replace it. But otherwise, they would not worry about it. They would just say, okay, if it fails under warranty, we'll replace it because you're not going to die for wiper start.
Yeah.
So what's the theme here that I'm seeing so far is these are pretty benign recalls for the most part. For the most part. So far, we're doing all right. Nobody's, nobody's exploding.
Some of them are funny. Some of them are no big deal. Some of them are dangerous.
Well, and this is before the age where cars got too complicated and lawyers became so sue happy, where the litigation and all that stuff is getting so ridiculous nowadays.
So this is more in the, when I read the definition, this is more in the, we're worried about customer safety than we're so much worried about getting our asses sued off.
Right.
So the next one, not as dangerous, but more dangerous than this. In 1964, the following year, the Studebaker Hawk had an issue with its hood latch where it would blow open and back. And depending, I don't really know. I should.
Here we go again.
And now we are off track
Rob's
again. I don't
next
even know where
Ferrari.
we're going with this. My next Ferrari. God damn it.
That happened to Rob's next Ferrari.
I'm gonna have to start drinking a
This
lot
was
more.
not Rob's fault, but it did happen under his ownership. So
Right.
Not due to a recall. Go ahead.
Anyway,
No, okay.
it's fine. But
It's
that's
fine.
happened to Rob's next Ferrari.
It
It was
did.
very nice. That got annihilated because of that. So
But
Maybe I
this
shouldn't
was,
own cars.
if you've ever opened a car or had a hood fly up on you, modern hoods are designed with a little cutout. In case this happens, you can still look under them and see. I don't believe that's the case on a lot of these older ones. It might have happened to have a gap, but they weren't designed with the visibility gap that modern hoods are designed to have. So this was an issue. Obviously, it was hood latch springs could fatigue, allowing the hood to unlatch at highway speeds, which would completely eliminate your visibility and, scare the crap out of you. However, we're back to affecting a reasonable number of vehicles, 4,182. They just replaced the latches, the springs, whatever. Cost about $125,000, so not nuts. But, it still was a thing, and magazines were loving showing, they had like a sequence, because it was a magazine, they had to show a car kind of going across in a sequence of 6 pictures of an Avanti driving by with the hood blowing back. That was very, woo, cool in Car Life magazine, scaring the owners obviously into, I want to get this fixed right away.
well, and I suppose because there's a spring to help it open,
it launches.
That's why.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then not to mention it's at highway speed, so it springs it open,
Right.
and then the air catches it, and it's
it.
over. Now, worth noting, this isn't a recall, but I said we're in 1964. In 1965, Ralph Nader publishes Unsafe at Any Speed.
Oh,
so this
poor
is
Corvairs.
Yes, so this is significant because now there's a really popular book, and everyone's really thinking, is my car have a design flaw? It kind of got, even if you didn't have a Corvair, it was like, it opened people's eyes, much like Upton Sinclair's, The Jungle, to being like, oh my God, there's the meat I'm eating made in on the Chicago floor.
Well, yeah, the joke with the Corvair was like you throw a penny at the trunk of a Corvair and it explodes. Like that's how
Right.
sensitive it was to like catching on fire and killing the person inside if it got in a minor accident, basically rear end accident.
I think it's a shame because
So-
the Corvair is great. My dad had a couple of them when I was younger. They're good to drive. They're reliable. I mean, it really would have been anyway.
So this would have been the first recall that this is now probably the most.
It wasn't a recall
Oh,
where
didn't-
they
it
just
wasn't.
quit making them. They
No.
just like they,
So the book just caused them to quit. That was it. The book just
they,
killed.
they did a redesign of some suspension components. They kept making them, but you couldn't recover from being basically a viral car of everyone associating, oh, you have one of those dangerous things. It was, before social media and, before even really mass television media completely.
But then wouldn't the three of us want one of those? I feel like that's exactly what we would
still
want.
enjoy them. I mean, they made a
it's-
turbo
Right.
version. They're cool. This one, it gets a little bit more like, but 66 Ford Futura, which is basically a trim line of the Falcon. They had a headlamp switch recall because the headlamp switch contacts would overheat and arc, which would be bad, risking under dash fires. And this is going to be a little bit of a theme for Ford here.
I just did that to my Packard.
Yes, you did.
I did one myself.
You
Rob.
zapped the Packard?
Yeah, I
remember?
burned all the
With
wires
Cat-
down
you
on my
did, didn't you?
Packard. Yeah,
Yeah, you did.
Yes.
Yeah, you did.
And
So-
you endangered your woman.
I did.
And that had been known for how many years?
The Packard I just got.
Packard
I'm
doesn't
saying-
send out letters anymore.
Well, it might have. I
it's
bet
a
you there was letters sent
1923
out when it started.
It's a 1923 Packard. It's a positive ground car. I installed the battery backwards, and it shorted some wires. And by the time I corrected it, it had already done some damage to wires, and they melted down on the dash.
I bet there was a telegram for that.
Yeah, all they did was
Have to be.
install some sturdier switches. 94,000 whales. Not that crazy interesting. Now, this one, is interesting, not because it's dangerous, but because of the cars that it happened to. And I never knew about this one, as much of a GM guy as I am. In 1968, Camaros had a door handle recall, but only on the SS and RS coupes. And I was like, okay, why? And basically it just says the exterior door handle detent springs could break and allow the stores to, open unexpectedly at speed. Now, I think old car doors just do that anyway.
Yeah, that's a normal thing.
So I was like, it's interesting. But what's crazy is that they did not happen to non-RS and non-SS cars. So if you had like an inline six Camaro,
but it had to be the same part, right?
They had a
It had to have
fancier
been.
doors of some kind.
yeah. So it only affected 18,000 of the Camaros. So it's like, it's very specific. I never knew about it. People like, because Corvette or Camaros already had kind of enthusiast groups back then. They would get together and, be like, hey, replace your, GM called it like Operation Safe Latch. And owners were warning each other to get their latches replaced. It was like just an interesting thing that only affected a trim line of an old car.
So it had to be like a parts change, like a mid-year, like they ran out of parts, had
Must
to
have been.
switch
Or if-
to a different supplier or something, and then
like I
that
said,
failed.
Not a whole lot of things. And of course, because this wasn't a big deal, didn't really make a lot of media buzz. Now, another thing that happened in 1970, the NHTSA was founded. So,
Okay.
65, Ralph Nader's
National
book.
Highway Traffic Safety.
Administration. Yes.
Administra-
Nice.
okay.
Yeah, it's a
Wow.
mouthful.
Oh,
It's
well
an
done.
absolute mouthful. So this one is one that you're like, well, dang, that doesn't sound good. 1971. Now we're getting to everybody. Now there's a government agency looking into this stuff.
Okay.
So people are very concerned about safety and quality and their stuff falling apart because it's now in the media. Like it's a known thing that cars can have manufacturing defects and it could be fixed. So in 1971, Chevrolet, pretty much all of it, had a motor mount issue. And they had issued a motor mount recall for 6.7 million of their vehicles.
Whoa.
So that is a huge recall compared to what we've seen. It's basically affected all Camaros, Novas, light duty C and K pickups. Pretty much everything they made had this motor mount. And the factory rubber mounts would deteriorate in this, get this, under 20,000 miles.
Oh.
Like, so it wasn't like, oh, eventually this will happen. Like, it was like, this will still be a pretty new car and your motor mounts will completely break away. Crazy issue. Never knew about that until I started researching this. Of course, as we all know, when your motor mounts break, your engine's in there twisting around and can break brake lines, can break fuel lines. It can cause a whole bunch of issues. Obviously, stuff's not aligned. You feel like a loss of power. There's a lot of bad things that happen when your motor mounts break. Basically, all GM did was they obviously issued a service bulletin, and then the field engineers and various people put a steel cable on top of it, basically
God.
to like ratchet it down. So
to keep it from jiggling too much.
If and when the motor mount broke loose, there was the steel cable holding it back down.
Oh God! Well, I imagine with 6 to 7 million of them to do, they
You
couldn't.
had,
There's
they
no
had
way.
to come up with a fast
Yeah.
thing. So now we're getting into the whole like, okay, how much did that cost GM? In 1971, it was $120 million.
Wow.
So that was a lot of money. In today's money, it's $952.5 million. So we're almost getting into the bills.
Oh, jeez.
But that one could have caused a lot of danger. I mean, like I said, imagine you lose power steering or whatever because your engine torqued itself out of place or whatever. You name it.
Still benign-ish, and I have a feeling.
I've done that before.
Have you?
Because I did it on Car Trek with the E30 that had the V8 swap.
Oh, yeah.
And they made their own kind of motor mounts that were very jiggly. And when I love tapped Cletus, the Crown Vic bumper, that tap pulled the engine out from where it was supposed to be, and it pulled off the transmission and the linkages and all that stuff that was all dragging on the ground. And the whole car, everything went crazy. So we had to like pry bar the engine back, and then that was a real mess. Yeah.
Engines are like engines are really torquey. Like I said, they are strapped down in there for a reason. But yeah, that was a crazy one. Obviously, the public was calling it the first major GM safety debacle. I was on front pages of everything. Car and Driver ran big articles about it. But obviously, this made the NHTSA, which is going to be a mouthful every time I say it.
NHTSA is what it's short
Yeah.
for. April used to have to do radio ads for them.
good.
So she'd say NHTSA.
NHTSA. We'll go with that. Okay. It obviously made them really take a look at rubber components from here on out.
For sure.
Now, next year, and I'm not going to every year in this. It's just the major ones. We eventually start skipping years here. But this one I couldn't leave off because A, I didn't know about it, and B, I couldn't believe the year in which it was happening. I almost don't even want to say the year, but you know what it is. It's in kind of chronological order. So Ford had an issue in 1972 on their trucks, which is an issue
There's
that
flies. Sorry.
I know.
I need to do something about it, but I killed one.
Did you
Nice,
get one?
gross.
Got it.
We
Yeah.
got two over
That
here.
one
that
hits
are
your
just-
face. Yeah,
Yeah.
you got to figure out if you do like the whole, like you totally ignore it, like Mike Pence when he was doing
Oh,
that
yeah.
debate or whatever.
yeah.
And there's the fly on his forehead for like 5 minutes, and he's just pretending it doesn't exist. Like it's okay, you can do this in a debate. You know,
Well,
like
I'm going to take
yeah.
the blame for this because my bourbon, honey bourbon,
Oh well, there you go. Okay, so
think
picking that
there's
up.
didn't-
Flies, yeah.
think that through.
No, there's usually a fly or two in here. I got one last cast. It was like
Yeah.
I didn't even mean to. I just kind of grabbed it and I was like, ugh.
I might need to do something. So okay,
Okay,
this is
so this is a problem that I would be like, this is a very 2025 thing to happen. So this affected all, they issued it in 1972. This affected all 1968 through 72 Ford F-Series trucks.
I have a 72 Ford F Series outside.
Okay, this you might not have had this recall done, but I don't think you'll need it.
Guarantee
And
you
get
haven't.
ready for why.
Okay,
Because, and I can't still believe that that happened in this year, the lap belt webbing was cut too short to properly restrain 95th percentile male occupants.
Wait, what?
so it's too if you're too fat.
If you're too fat, and remember, people, 95th percentile doesn't mean 95% of people. It means 95% of people are this weight, and anyone outside of that is this.
Oh boy.
So this is a modern day seatbelt extender on the airline thing.
Okay.
I can't believe it. 1972, they had to issue a recall because 95th percentilers were feeling left out of their
So
truck
did
lap
like
belts.
a fat guy just go through a windshield or something, and that was it? Like it started it?
Seatbelt laws weren't even a thing, so it's like I just can't even believe all of this. I was like,
There's one big person at NHTSA, literally big, that went, "Hey, I don't fit in these." So.
it must have
that
been
was
that
it.
because
Yeah.
I was like, especially in the 70s, no one would have taken a second guess to be or second glance to be like, so lose some weight. Like nobody, there wasn't the obesity epidemic that we have now. It would have been like, who cares? That's your problem. So I can't believe this one got passed, but it did. The right amount of people complained about it, and that affected 4.1 million vehicles.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Well, now I want to go look at your laptop.
Do I have a seatbelt extender on?
Yeah.
You got to look at it. Yeah. So this one is interesting though because it's one of the first times it cost Ford. They put extended webbing kits. They literally pretty much did little extenders on it like the airlines do, and they updated the owner's manual. Like basically they just did the only thing you could do, but it cost Ford $25 million
My God.
Jeez.
in 72, and because the NHT and whatever NHTSA, they also just fined him $100,000 on top of that.
Oof.
Well, for the hell of it.
Yeah. So it was like, wow, that one when I just was fascinated to learn about that because it seems like a very 2025, Ford fat shaming headline.
Well, kind
Right.
of, yeah.
Well,
So what's interesting here is, they had to, do a spread of, about like a crash test dummies, like the other advertisements showing crash test dummies hitting the dash and all this stuff. And they did new ads showing better fitted belts and stuff like this. It was such a bizarre time. But rural truck owners wrote letters griping to Automotive News that retrofit arrived months late, which I don't know why they cared too much, but it was just, it was an interesting, weird time, and it cost everybody a lot of money. Now, we're getting into the dangerous, fun stuff. In 1973...
Oh, yeah, these people died.
All the
Here we
people,
go.
all the kids
No,
that
I don't know.
died.
I don't know if anybody died on this one, but this is one I definitely didn't know about. 1973, GM had a Stone Guard assembly recall, and you're like, what? Okay, so basically, all 73, like Buicks, Chevrolets, Cadillacs, Pontiacs, pretty much like most of GM's line had a little Stone Guard underneath, so when you're driving along, it protected linkages and things like that, and it was supposed to prevent stones from going in there. But what it ended up doing was directing stones into things.
Perfect.
And what would happen is little rocks would get in there and jam steering linkage.
Oh, God.
And imagine
Oh man.
being like, not physically being able to turn the wheel because there's a pedal
going
in
around
there.
a corner with a big drop off.
Yeah. So this one, pretty important recall. 3.7 million vehicles, cost GM 50 million. And basically all they did was they came in, remounted a bracket to deflect stones outward. It wasn't like a huge fix, but it was a dangerous fix.
Oh, for
and that
sure.
was the one I just didn't know about.
Yeah, somebody had to have died to get that one going.
Yeah. But of course, the media had a heyday with this one. They would show footage of made up footage of somebody on a close course veering off into the woods, and consumer calls were calling in everywhere. I mean, this is when people were really it was popular news to get a sensational story like, dude, is your steering rack filled with rocks?
That's a job I would have wanted back then. I want to be the driver of that guy in that video, just veering it off into the forest. be so much fun to do that.
And it just caused such a huge outrage and people freaking out about like, does my car have this? Because it just was this, it could be you story, that they actually ended up studying the crisis. What do they call those guys? The crisis management. They actually started to use this as a crisis management in Harvard. Just this entire story because of the time in which it happened, the public panic, and the GM's response to it, which I guess was actually pretty swift.
Right. Well, and I imagine if you didn't live on a dirt road, well, I guess there's a lot of dirt roads still in the 70s installed.
Yeah.
It'd be
Oh,
tough
yeah.
to avoid unless you were in a major city.
Right. And
So-
still, like I said, it just you don't want your steering locking up on you.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, now this next one is a pretty famous one for people of certain ages, but the 1978 Ford Pinto
Oh yeah.
fuel tank recall.
This is the first one that I know. Like I can remember this.
This one is like, I think for a lot of people is that, oh yeah, because this, you talk about the other one, that is not sensational news story. It's very hard to visualize. This one, pretty easy to visualize, very easy to sensationalize. Now the Ford Pinto was an incredibly popular car. I know we all kind of make fun of them now, and you're like, oh man, it's so ugly. I can't believe anybody loved him. Everyone loved them. Everyone was buying them. If you were on the city streets back then, you saw them. Well, in September 1978, they kind of, they found it in June, but they announced it in September. They did that fuel neck filler thing like I talked about on the Nash. But the problem with this one is that the protector plate positioning would allow for rear impact punctures and leaks. So if you look at the car in the picture, and if you're listening online, it's a really small hatchback. And this is before crumple zones. So what you have is if you were to impact the rear, I forgot it, what's not very fast, you risked rupturing the fuel tank in this car.
It basically made a spear.
Yes.
Of the
It is.
way the car crumpled
And
in.
that gas would go onto your hot car, and there was exhaust. It was a pretty easy fire
It
situation.
was a bomb.
Yeah. So this was just a sensational story. The second it came out, they're like, I mean, obviously Ford tried to word it as like, "Are you protector plate?" Blah 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 blah. It obviously the media put exploding cars.
Oh, yeah.
If you drive this, you're on borrowed time. It was a crazy thing. I mean, you remember our parents at least have told stories about this.
My mom had one of these when that came out and sold it immediately.
Yeah, this was bad news for Ford. And they went on to look into, and it was like, this kind of prompted that whole, because Mustangs were affected by this, but it was like the 65s and stuff like this, where they went back and did this same test on them. And it's like, yeah, if you rear end something hard enough that's made in the 60s or 70s, it'll blow up. Like, it's just kind of the way it is. But like I said, nothing made media stir or had negative impact like this. So it affected 1.53 million vehicles because they made a Mercury version of this as well called the Bobcat. That's about 500 million in today's money. So not good. Lots of
And I
car
wonder, they talk about how new cars are so expensive today, but if they made basically an equivalent of the Pinto, where it's a two-door little hatchback, what's the last version? A Geo Metro or something like that?
Yeah.
Would anybody buy it?
Well,
No.
I mean, what's the truck that I put in
Slate?
deposit? The Slate.
That's like,
Now-
but that's electric.
Yeah.
and
right,
that's
but
still-
it's screwed now because I think the tax credit's going
Right.
away.
Right.
So now your $20,000 truck is now a 27.5 truck. So now they're screwed in the water.
But as far as
But-
like making like a four-banger crappy automatic or like a Mitsubishi Mirage, I suppose is the closest thing we
Yeah.
have today of that, and people didn't buy those.
Yeah,
So
if they could make another pretty good but disposable car, it would be.
I think it would have to be pretty like quirky and eccentric to sell. I think because the Mitsubishis, I think those new are like 17.
they're really, really cheap.
16, 17,
but they're
18 in.
really, really bad.
Yeah, they're horrible. But I mean, but they're also Mitsubishi already is pretty much junk at this
Right.
point.
Yeah.
So people already know that. So if somebody did come around and made something that had a little bit of, just kind of like what Fiat did, except better and more reliable, something cute, different, unique.
like we couldn't give away Aveos back when I was working at a
Right.
Chevy
And it's
sales
funny.
bar.
Then they changed
So-
the name to the Sonic. Sold pretty well.
Where was the Spark and all of that?
That's below the Spark,
it,
and they
right?
used, those did not sell well. And there was a whole campaign: if you bought a Silverado, they'd give you a Spark.
I remember that. Yeah,
That's what I was like. That's how you know those aren't moving.
Right.
Yeah. So this one also was interesting. So not only did it cost Ford a bunch of money, but because of the media frenzy that this had. Jake, do you have that other picture I put up there with some owners would put like warnings on the back of their Pinto? I think it's the next picture after this. But I found this in period, which I love. If I had one of these now, I would absolutely put this on my rear bumper. But it was on 60 Minutes, which was a huge show back then. I mean, it still is. This made Ford's stock dip 8% in one day.
That's a big drop.
When the 60 Minutes episode dropped, it pretty much 10% drop.
Well, because back then, I mean, that's everyone was watching just a few channels you
Exactly.
had.
So
So
that was
everybody saw it.
Bad. Anyway, it doesn't matter where the picture. It was a picture where it says like something like stay back, I might explode.
Jake fell
or something
asleep.
Like
Is that like
no,
one of those,
it might have been poorly labeled. Oh, there you go.
There it is.
It's a period
Yeah.
picture.
So is it like an early sovereign citizen? You know those people when you pull up and it's on the windshield, it's like,
yeah.
these are my rights.
Yeah, it says keep off my rear. I'm explosive.
Why would you even drive that if you knew? Oh my god.
I mean, if you couldn't have anything else, at
I
least
guess
you were
not.
warning everybody.
Wonderful.
That bumper looks not stock either. Like they actually added
I bet
something
they
to
were worried
it.
about it.
Like
They
a
were
demo
like-
derby
Yeah,
bumper.
that
like,
bumper
yeah.
looks big.
We can cruise through this one because it's not the end of the world.
The Chevy
had-
Cruise?
It's another Ford, but
Okay.
not too long after that, they had a problem with their gear selector where it could slip out of park.
Hey, that
And
looks
so
like mine.
the cars would roll away.
Are
so
we
you
in the
thought
80s
you were in-
yet?
Yeah. So you thought you were So we're in early 80s. This was like I said, not people didn't die, but cars rolled away. Not good.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Fun. Harmless.
also in
Now
the
we're back
80s,
to nice again.
Yeah, this one I think would be the craziest to happen, just because of like if it was happening while you were driving. So in 1981, GM, and I mean just GM,
GM's
across
really
the
having
board here,
themselves a time.
they had a control arm bolt recall, where while you were driving, corrosion-prone rear control arm bolts could back out and just cause it to completely come off.
Your suspension just separates.
Yes,
That's it.
So imagine you're going around at highway speeds and your right rear control arm comes off. It would be like
That was so I did that. I had a front bolt on a control arm that Jake actually fixed on my. What was that bolt that was coming off, Jake, on my Raptor? That where all of a sudden the steering keeps going more and more to the right, and I'm just still driving. Like, I don't know, something's getting weird with this thing, and I'm moments from death with this bolt coming off.
The tie rods themselves are working with.
It was the tie rods for the bolts. And Jake finally drove and he's like, this seems unsafe. And he looked and like, hey, by the way, you're about to die.
They were just loose.
They were
hanging
just
off.
they were just about to fall off. But
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, good thing you didn't, because
Yeah.
that's a big dang vehicle. Yikes. So yeah, this one would be bad, and I can imagine losing control, especially from the rear. Like
Oh,
at
yeah.
highway speeds, it would just be a mess. And this was one of the affected cars, one of the great Cadillacs of all time. Anyway,
the weird,
the weird humpback.
Yes,
Muscleback.
the bustleback.
Bustleback,
As
sorry,
Jake
yes,
said,
sorry.
yes.
Sorry,
Mhm.
everyone.
Which
But-
I had the model car as a kid, and it was always the game of like the car rears the other one and kind of launches
Yeah.
because it looks like a ramp.
Now we have requests that we need to give Jake a mic for these moments.
Well, or yes.
So-
So Jake chiming in, people got frustrated because he doesn't have a microphone, so he has to like get up and come over.
well, they want to hear
What-
what he has to say. He has good takes.
There were some comments about him replacing you.
Yeah, I've seen that as well. Thank you for bringing that up. It's very thoughtful of you.
We're not doing that.
No.
Not yet. I'm still on a training period.
So we
here.
are
Give me a
listening to
chance.
comments,
Rob
but
does
not
great.
completely.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm great for not a car guy, hat guy with the Hawaiian shirt.
Oh no, the YouTube
I'm
comments are getting to you.
fine.
You're new to this.
I'm
like Elliot's a
fine.
grizzled,
Yeah.
veteran
Well,
of YouTube.
I'm
and the
literally
mean
gonna
comments.
I'm just going to cut out this area and see if I can get two people.
There you
cut
go.
out your crotch.
Yeah, I might get.
to show
I
it?
just want someone on my side.
Oh,
I might get
I
someone
don't
on my side.
understand what that means.
you get the bourbon people. He's thinking he's going for my angle with the whitey
Yeah,
tighties.
I'm kind of aiming for that.
Oh, you want to show?
Well, there's got to be a subset for that.
I know. At first, I thought I was like, "You're gonna cut off your.
You're gonna cut off your
balls and
junk, and
wiener?
people will
I'm
like
not
you
exactly
better.
going to do that.
It
no.
will make news.
That
It'll
would,
be like,
yeah.
podcaster.
Yeah. Never
Anyway.
seen a guy do that before.
Podcaster castrates
All
himself.
right, enough
live.
of that. Go back to your
For
back to your
YouTube
story.
views.
Back to your story.
How's it going, guys?
Yeah.
This is Mr. Beast video. We're gonna have
Yeah,
voluntary
it's
castrations.
Hoovy, Elliott, and Dickless.
Hey, if I can get to 10,000, I might do it.
Oh, my
Oh
God.
goodness. Okay. Anyway, so this caused GM 6.4 million vehicles affected, 75 million. Not good. A lot of bad press. But that's about it of notable things for the 80s. Now,
Okay.
95 comes around.
Ooh.
And here's a name we're all familiar with that I didn't know had done bad things before the next thing. This was a Takata seatbelt latch
Wow,
recall.
we know this name now.
Oh.
So we know this name now, and they'll come back later. But in 1995, they had Takata, to make clear if you don't know, they make safety equipment for pretty much every car.
Are
And they
these-
did.
and
I think
not
I
very
remember
well.
this back in the day where they were showing like you just slap the seatbelt and it comes loose, right?
Essentially what it was. But it was everything like Hondas, Mitsubishis, Ford, GM, all had these latches, and the latch mechanisms, would just be, it sounded like it was in, but it would pop out. So you got in a crash and you're like, well, I was wearing my seatbelt, but it didn't restrain me. So it was a dangerous thing. and scary. Especially because now seatbelts are a thing. Now that when I had that Ford extender thing, it was like people are like, well, so what? And I'm not wearing a seatbelt anyway.
Right.
The seatbelts are an established safety item by this point. And so 8.5 million vehicles were affected, and it cost Takata $200 million. Basically, the fix was that dealers would replace the latch with a redesigned dual paw mechanism, and they changed the
And
user manual.
that didn't put Takata under,
Apparently
obviously.
not. I think it's just because every manufacturer was using. They had enough money; they could eat that one.
Wow.
And it was early enough. We didn't, all associate. Ooh, Takata bad. Like we do now. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting one. Another one before we get to the next one, I guess we should say, is the Ford ignition switch fire recall of '96. Again, another one I did not know about. So this would have been on Broncos, trucks, Crown Vics, Grand Marquis,
I
and
thought
the
the
like.
Mustangs had it too.
This is what's fascinating about it. So I didn't know about this one because it wasn't scary. This happens while you're driving. The ignition switches would short circuit potentially days after you cut it off. So it wasn't one of those things where you cut it off and you were like, wait a second and make sure it didn't do it and you could walk away. It could have been 2 or 3 days. And all of a sudden, without input or you driving it, it would just short and underdash fire and then, potentially whole car fire if you didn't catch it. So that's just crazy that you couldn't even safely feel like, oh, I'm going to go on vacation for a few days and I've left my Explorer inside.
See, on that car, the 500 SL,
Yeah.
the ignition switch shorted out while it was parked, but it just engaged the starter and then it wouldn't stop. So my grandmother calls me. She had driven. It's like the first time in years that she had driven the car, and that she just wanted to drive it like a mile to her friend's house. And she calls me like, "Tyler, the car's starting and it won't. It just won't stop."
That noise
And I'm like,
had
what do you
been
mean?
horrible.
Oh, God,
And
yeah.
I'm hearing this noise
Till the battery's
and the engine
dead.
fighting the starter and the
Right.
flywheel and all this. Oh my God, what is this? It's like, what do I do? Like, you got to find somebody to disconnect the battery or cut the battery post or whatever. And finally, a neighbor came over with like garden loppers and cut the battery post off. And
Wow.
that killed it.
That probably did that
But-
destroy the starter, the teeth, and everything. Or
Oh, it'd
like,
have to hurt
I mean,
it.
it had to have.
The flywheel had
flywheel was probably scored.
some
Or-
teeth.
yeah.
It was a
Wow.
thing. It was definitely it was a
Wow.
thing.
That would have been scary. Yeah, very scary. Especially like I said, starters that won't stop are already a horrible noise
Right.
if you know what's going on. But imagine just hearing that in your garage and you're like, what
Right.
is
Yeah,
going
and doing
on?
nothing.
But
Yeah.
you got the ignition switch from GM, I'm assuming, in this one.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so we'll get to that later. Yeah.
But that's scarier because it happens while you're driving.
right.
This one,
that
yeah.
was a huge
So-
one. Yeah.
No, wait, did you have Kias too? Is that coming up? Because didn't
No.
the Kia weren't there Kias or Hyundais that you had to leave outside because they were just catching on fire spontaneously? I've seen stories about
that's
this where
BMWs, I thought.
no, it's Kia.
Yeah.
It was definitely
That's,
either Kia or Hyundai.
That's unrecalled
Where
Ferraris.
I believe it was Kias because I remember seeing that like people were like, you have to keep it outside.
There's a few of these, honestly. There's like GM, even like from they had some like '90s like Pontiacs. I forgot what motor affected, but even Oldsmobile. The gosh dang it, what was it? It doesn't matter, but they had like some things. It wasn't a major one, but it was like the fuel rail could drip after vehicle shut down and cause a fire. It was like there's a few of these throughout
not
history.
the fun ones.
Yeah, but
And
this one's like this one's kind of just.
Let's talk about the fun ones where
Yeah.
people died.
Lots of death.
Yeah.
So yeah, this would cost. Anyway, theme is, unless you guys really want to know, cost them a lot of money, affected a lot of vehicles.
Sure.
Not good.
Oof.
Obviously, USA Today, when non-car publications are running car stories, it's usually not good. And they had a front page story about Ford that just said "cars that burn when off" was the headline.
That's bad.
So imagine just seeing like, "Hey, that's Mom's car," on the front of that. Yikes. Yeah, and then people got
OJ could have used that as a defense, but or burned some evidence there if he didn't do the recall.
Oh, poor OJ.
basically the next one. Not this at least is happening when you're moving. Ford again. On the same pretty much vehicles, Navigators, Expeditions, yada yada. They had a Ford cruise control switch recall that would continuously energize the vacuum switch modules, and so it would overheat them, and then it would ignite on fire in the engine bay and burn up a lot of the insulation.
Wow, so Ford's having a really bad time.
Yeah, it's not gonna get better.
Ford's in there. Is this? Are we getting
Yeah.
the Firestone
we're
now?
that's the next one.
Yeah,
So anyway,
that's the
that's
big
one I
one.
didn't know about, but the Firestone one is the first one that I remember being
Yeah.
like on the news and being like, is this something that are these, because you're a kid too, you just made it sound like you're gonna be driving and like a movie, something just explodes and you flip
Yeah, oh, yeah.
over.
This
Right.
was-
Well, and they were showing the flipped cars
Yeah.
and the destroyed lives and the families killed and all that
Yes,
stuff.
because
It was
everybody I knew, somebody knew somebody's mom. with an Explorer or Dad. Or whatever.
Right.
That's the way it was. So
Well, and I
yes,
think this is when we were sensationalizing some of this stuff too, like for
of course.
to be
You got-
for obviously for trying to get people to watch and take notice.
Yeah, news is now for getting viewers, and this is a good one. So the 2000 Ford Firestone tire recall.
It's in 2000. I thought
this
it was
is
in
when
the
they did
90s,
it,
huh?
but the cars that it affected were 91 through 98 Explorers, Mountaineers, and then 2003 to 05 Aviators, and with these replacement tires, which was a side note. But it's all the 91 through 98 Explorers and Mountaineers. So basically, I thought they issued it in the 90s as well, but I think it's just, I remember it's for this body style of Explorer, the Jurassic Park Explorer.
Right.
So what would happen is that certain tread designs that Firestone used, Firestone was the partner tire company of Ford at the time, had been for, I don't even know, like since the beginning. They were putting Firestones on everything new. But they made a bad batch of tires for a certain model of vehicle, and basically the tread designs would have steel belt corrosion and essentially high rates of tread separation, which would then cause some imbalance. And then because these were so rollover prone, if you get out of control at any speed, you're pretty much
Flipped.
You're flipped.
Well, that's what people is the two-pronged thing. It's the tires and then the bad design of these narrow SUVs that just flip. You look at them the wrong way and they're on the roof.
Right.
Which was definitely a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they are. They're not the best handling responsive thing. So as far as a moose test or just dodging like that kind of object, these things were on the roof.
Even if you went at 40 and you just tried to dodge it back and forth a few times, you could.
you're done.
flip
You're
it.
flipped. Yeah.
So imagine a crazy maneuver at even higher
That's
speeds.
Jake's everyday life now since he lifted his Ranger, which is on this
true.
platform.
Yeah,
so
we're
he's
just we're waiting for the day that
he's gonna be
post comes.
on his roof at some point.
I know, according to Jake, though, it's just not fast enough to do it. He can never exceed the speeds required to roll it over. And then he does things like tow with it. So it's like, oh my
It's
gosh.
still going.
It is. I know. I'm impressed.
Still
with that thing.
going.
So this was a bad one for everybody. Obviously, another media frenzy. But now you've got another company involved. And both companies were pointing fingers at each other. So this cost Ford, obviously, first of all, this affected 6.5 billion tires, not vehicles. So it's kind of an odd one on that one.
Divided by 4, so
Right.
what?
Or times 4. I
million
don't even-
cars or
yeah.
whatever. I don't know.
But either way, it cost
2 million.
Firestone 650 million, which they cannot take that kind of hit. But it cost Ford 1.95 billion in replacements. But because we're into the 2000s, now everybody's suing.
Yep.
They got another 400 million in settlements and payouts to either families that either had experienced an accident or had good enough legal proof that they were going to experience an accident. So now we're living in that day and age. Got another 60 minutes in, story. It's just horrible. And then sales of SUVs across the board were affected by this. So obviously Explorer, it's, everywhere, but across the board in the US, sales fell 12% in the SUV sector after this story because they just became associated with you're gonna roll over. And I remember thinking that any squarish SUV, I associated that as a kid too. I was like, you'll
just
roll
flip.
over. And
People went back to minivans for another few years. Yeah.
Yep.
I feel
Now,
like
can I give an honorable mention on tires if we're talking
Yes.
about tires?
Yeah.
Goodyear. Were you ever familiar with Goodyear? They had their own with the G159 tires with RV tires. They had a big problem where these were the big ass RV tires that you'd have.
Are these
They
the ones
were
that
just-
the RVs that you drive or the trailers? That
No,
you
the ones
pull?
you drive.
Okay.
Like
Wow.
big, RV tires, they were exploding and for years and causing crashes and all kinds of. They had a huge settlement. Same thing. They were just literally spontaneously exploding. And if you're in a car and you're pulling, you tire explodes, you can reasonably get off to the side of the road, probably depending on where you're at. If you're in a big ass RV and a big tire like that just combusts, I mean that
something
thing's
sizable.
going. It's a dart without feathers. It's going wherever it goes, and you're along for the ride.
It's a bus.
So that
that's
was
out of control.
Yeah, that was another
Yeah.
one that was a huge disaster, and that was a big problem for Goodyear.
this is a photo of a tire that went boom.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Is this the Goodyear tire, Jake? See, that's the thing. I don't
looks like-
follow the RV community that closely, Rob. You don't
Yeah.
follow Infinities, and I don't follow.
Yeah,
the
that looks like one. That's how
Yeah.
they exploded. They just
And all,
split.
well, all that
literally
weight on the rim.
let
Yeah, that'd
go.
be it.
That's crazy. Yeah, that would be dangerous as heck.
But that's the biggest.
That's the biggest one that we all were alive for and remember. Like,
Right.
being like, oh yeah, I remember that one. And cost everybody a lot of money, a lot of bad outlet. And like I said, like the Pinto story must have been for our parents. It was like, that was our whoa.
There was an Eddie Bauer Explorer when I was shopping for my
Oh,
first
I
car.
love those.
They were cool.
And that it was a good deal, used, all that stuff. And this is right around when this happened. And it was instant no from my parents because they like, it's a rollover. They're not safe. So didn't happen. And I thought, oh man, Jurassic Park and all that stuff. So I thought it was so neat. But not in the cards.
Yeah. No.
Ended up with the Dakota, which was a very nice machine.
Still nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, not bad. Next one is another one we're all familiar with because it's kind of still ongoing. So in 2009 is when the first Takata airbag recall was issued. And at first, it was, it was like, okay, this affects these cars. The next year, these cars. I have this down as 2009 through 2018. So it's it was a nine-year ongoing recall because, when I did the seatbelt Takata thing, that was bad, and they affected a lot of cars. By this point, no company, no OEM, pretty much at all, was making their own airbags. There's no point. There's already a company that does that. So that's Takata. Mm-hmm. What the problem was, so I remember this just being on the news all the time, and I never really looked into it. It was just because I just distinctly remember when this kept coming up in the news, I even took warranties as
Same here.
So what? That could happen.
Well,
it's just an airbag.
They're basically saying like if the airbags go off, it's like a grenade going off in your face, right?
Right. And so the problem was it was the inflator was the problem, not the bag. So I guess it's part of the bag itself. So the ammonium nitrate propellant that they use in the inflator would degrade when it's humid, which is humid a lot of places. Mm-hmm. And the problem was the inflator casings would rupture when the airbag would go off, and in addition to getting the airbag, you also got a claymore level of metal fragments.
That's a grenade.
So that is a very bad thing. I mean, so you're already in a car accident with airbag deployment, bad. If you get metal accelerated into your face, like I said, I mean, oh my gosh, that's dangerous as heck. But like I said, I remember at the time, first of all, I didn't know why back in the day, but I just remember being like, well, don't get in an accident. It was one of those, I felt like a dumb American just being like, so what?
Young.
Yeah, it was like, not going to affect me. I just won't do that. Now knowing it's crazy. So the thing that's nuts about it is how many things happened. So at first I started to list it. I was like 2001 to 2018 models on Honda, Toyota, BMW, Ferrari. And then I was like, oh, and it's plus 40 other OEMs. Yeah. It was every manufacturer.
Well, and it made it very rough for big franchise dealers on used cars where they couldn't sell the car because of the Takata recall. Mm-hmm. You see, like, yeah, this is great. I want this car. Can't sell it to you. It's waiting for its recall. So then these hundreds of cars were parked on dealers' lots in town where they were unsellable because they wouldn't sell the cars, then face the liability of selling a car that had a Takata airbag recall in it.
Now, I wonder if these were publicly traded back then. Company, was it? The stock would have just
they had to, because they're a pretty big company, obviously. I mean, I even think I had this done recently. I don't think it's because of this, but Volvo had their own thing, because I remember in the Volvo community, my previous airbag cover had a little R on it, and when you do the airbag recall on the Volvo, you lose your R. And there's all these people that are in the S60 and V70R community. They're like, don't do the recall because you'll lose your R. It's a real movement. They're like, don't do it because you won't get the R back. And I'm like, I don't care that much.
Well, that reminds me of some of the recalls. I don't know what they are specifically, but I remember seeing in forums where there'd be recalls on cars where they would change the tune and it would like slow them down.
Right. So that's coming up.
And then people are like, I'm not doing this because I don't want my...
Exactly. We'll get to that.
Sounds like Dieselgate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So this one, staggering numbers. You've got 67 million cars affected.
Yeah.
67 million inflators. So I guess that's less than that because there's multiple.
It's got to be the most expensive one ever at that many cars, right?
So it's estimated, because it's ongoing, at 25 plus billion.
Jeez.
And that was back at the time of that. So I adjusted that for it's like 37.5 billion so far. So
wow.
I mean, I don't know, because obviously OEMs aren't just gonna be like, well, now we're gonna make our own in-house. It's too expensive to like have a team design it.
And
like,
is this still current with Takata? And aren't they still sending them?
I believe, obviously there's no way they all got done. So if you have a car,
I just got one in the mail for my BMW.
Yeah, I bet it needs it done.
I just threw it away. I didn't look at it.
Of course you did.
I assume
that must have what happened to the Ferrari letter too.
Maybe.
Although, like I said, I feel like a prancing horse letter would grab my attention.
Oh, I'd open that.
Yeah, I suppose on the Mount Rushmore of recalls, the Takata airbag is going to be on there, along with the Pinto and the Ford Explorer.
Yeah, Firestone for sure.
Now, this one, especially because we were talking about the Prius earlier, I remember this one vividly as well because of the sensational news story. Priuses were still big. So, think about it. Camrys, all your popular Toyotas. This is the next one. In 2010, They were recalled for uncontrollable acceleration.
Oh,
Do you remember that one?
Uh-huh.
So Toyota called it the pedal entrapment, which I think is a much better legal term of saying it. It's like it wasn't unintended acceleration; it was pedal entrapment. So this was on the news about like there were tons of ladies being like it was accelerating out of nowhere. I couldn't hold the brakes, and I just remember laughing so hard with my friends, imagining a Prius on a highway with just glowing red brakes from somebody just trying to like hold it down, and they can't, and it's just like
Would it just be going the same speed?
Yeah.
It's not accelerating. It's just kind of moving along.
Somebody that doesn't know how to put their car in neutral
Yes,
when it's rolling.
But it's so many people
Yeah.
when it's a panic situation, they panic. And they panic in the wrong way. They don't go, what can I do to stop this situation? You're trying one thing and it's not working, and you don't move on to the next thing. And that's what people were doing. It's like I'm pressing the brake and it's not working. Figure something
It
else
says
out.
killed 30.
It did. This is the problem, though.
How many?
It did
89?
kill people. This one did kill some people. And I'm not making fun of that. I mean, it's very sad because it was a very preventable thing. But they found, for the most part, it was people who had unsecured floor mats. It was not largely. They did admit to some internal pedal assembly binding, but nothing. It was mostly, oh yeah, they're floor mats, which, by the way, it was confusing because at this point, every car that I've owned, I want to say past 04, has the little hooks to keep the driver's mat in place.
Right.
That's a safety issue, so things like that don't happen. I guess if you had aftermarket mats, or if you'd taken the mat out to clean it and you just kind of threw it back in, this could happen. But the preventability and consumer education level of this one is what kind of blew my mind. And again, news sensational. Obviously they always use the Prius because this was their that was their kind of, everyone knew the shape. It was a popular car. Everyone knew someone that had one. And now these things are accelerating out of control. And it's like, trust me, a very manageable car to catch.
It was very dramatic.
Yeah.
I've had plenty of throttle stick on old cars, and
Same.
it's like whatever. Like there's like a second of
Yeah.
and then you're done.
That's what I'm saying. The throttle sticks on some of the more than 500 horsepower. You're like, all right, this is scary. If the throttle stuck on my Prius, I would have
10 seconds.
I was going to say I'd have minutes to figure it out.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
you've got
I was
time.
like, I actually have
You've
time to
got
Google. I
time.
could probably Google this while it's happening.
I could see that.
No, but anyway, it's just crazy that it affected that many people, and it cost them a lot of money for a very preventable thing. 9 million vehicles affected, $2.2 billion to Toyota, but they could eat that. They were doing very well.
Right.
And then they got a 1.2 billion Department of Justice fine.
Wow.
Whoa.
That's how big of a deal this one was. Very interesting. And then the media took this one too far because we are back with sensationalized media. I wrote they did this. CNN would live cover emergency hotline calls for people. CBS was playing dash cam footage of people like with unattended acceleration.
Because
They
there was
were
one where the
really-
police had to help somebody stop. I think. Remember?
Oh yeah,
one
they
time
had to
where
like corral the car.
Right.
Yeah, it's just like yeah. But another one with the stock price, Toyota's stock price plunged 16% in 2 weeks because of these
Wow.
stories. That's
Good
a
time to
huge
buy when
hit.
it's at the bottom.
Yeah, that's a huge hit. Obviously, they had to testify to Congress. I mean, this was not good. Next one's a small one, also Toyota, but one I didn't know about. This affected all the Yaris's, RAV4s, and Tundras. So this would have been your
I had one.
2006 to 12. It was a power switch recall. So over here, the window switch dielectric grease in the area would get into switch contacts, corroding circuits, and spark door panel fires.
Nice.
So you can imagine as you're driving along and all of a sudden your arm gets a little hot and
could be a problem.
smoke starts coming out of the speaker hole. You'd be like, oh my God, what's going
That
on?
is a proper hoopty thing to happen. I love it. Yes.
So I didn't know about that one. Obviously, it wasn't as sensational because nobody gives a crap about Yaris owners because they were like, I'm sure it caught on fire, whatever. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I didn't know about that one, so we're not going to spend too much time on that one. The next one that I definitely know about was the 2014 GM ignition switch recall.
This
Now,
one's crazy.
this one's crazy because we all know someone who did this. This is still in the age for you youngsters out there where you had to put a key into an ignition,
Right.
and that's the problem. So essentially what the official recall was that the ignition tumbler was weak, and if you jostle it enough, went over some railroad tracks, hit a bump just right, the key could turn itself into the off position. Now, if again, in cars with keys, if you've never driven one before, if it's off, the steering wheel will lock. So you can't steer, and now all of your systems are off. So if you were to hit something, your airbag won't go off. The brakes don't work because now the engine's off.
Right.
There's a lot wrong with this,
But there's the real reason why.
yes, and this is the girls I was talking about last week when I said, "Oh man, a girl with all the stuff hanging from her." It's
There
a
it
girl
is.
with, and it's not only girls, but everybody knew a girl who had about a
janitors?
pool ball
Like 20
size level
pounds worth of
keys.
junk
yeah,
of
we all knew
keys.
one.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yes. And you just, everything, it's my phone, my wallet, everything was dangling off of this poor thing. So, yeah, you go over railroad tracks, and that's a lot of weight on a tumbler. And
It did kill a lot of people.
it did.
though.
It was very unfortunate. Like I said, it would scare the crap out of people. And like we've talked about in panic situations, imagine cars off, brakes don't work, and you can't move the steering wheel.
Yeah, you're just
So
going wherever it's going.
I wonder of, all the cars that Oprah gave away.
Oh,
if there
yeah.
were any
Affected by
deaths
this.
from the G6s, right?
Yeah.
Because those G6s and Cobalts, right?
Yeah, it's Cobalts, G5s, Ions, G6s. It was basically all of one of their most popular cars. Yes, these are the popular keys.
No, that's the fix.
Oh, the fix. Oh,
What's
yeah.
what was the
They made it
fix?
so that you couldn't put as many keychains or as hefty of a keychain on there. Do you
look
see
at
the
that.
wide opening that had like a metal thing, and then they kind of put like a stopper on it.
This is the most GM thing I've ever seen.
But it was
Wow.
It's very sad and very unfortunate. But I just remember being like, "Yeah, you're not supposed to have that much stuff on your keys." I remember telling people that. I was like, it's not good for it.
Right.
But
But I think they got fined out the wazoo for this, and the
Yes.
lawsuits and things were pretty brutal, right?
yeah, so 30 million vehicles affected. The estimated cost without all that stuff, just to fix this or whatever, all the recalls and all the outlash was 4.1 billion. So even in 2014, ouch on GM. And again,
Stock hit.
stock hit.
Yeah.
I don't have a percentage on it, but
It was pretty big, I remember.
There was investigative journalism. That this is when it starts to go, and this is leading into the next thing. So this went from, my car's dangerous and blah, 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 blah. This went from that to the headlines, including a New York Times article, was headlined, GM knew. Like, this is big, bad, mean CEOs knew that these cars were cutting off on our teens, and they did nothing about it. This was the first start of that, which sometimes is true. But this was absolutely one of those, okay. Yeah, and then it went to, I don't have a poll for a percentage for the stock market, but they did like a political poll of GM's approval rating, and that only 28% of Americans trusted GM's safety claims after
Oh,
that.
boy.
So if they made a safety commercial, people were like, yeah, right, I bet they're covering something up. And it sucks. I'm a GM guy, so I'm like, ugh.
Yeah. But the lawsuits.
That had to have been,
Oh my
I didn't
God.
even
I
look it up
remember
'cause
that. I
I
think
can't,
there was some
I-
pretty brutal.
it's wild because, yeah, it's nuts.
There were thousands of them, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot.
Oh,
A
yeah.
lot.
So the next one is the one that we all kind of know because it happened the most recently. I mean, it's not the last one on my list, but it's the biggest one that happened recently as far as media sensationalization. Volkswagen's Dieselgate. Now, this one, I did make this funny.
That's pretty great.
I didn't make it, but I found that one, and that amplifies it. So this is affecting 2009 through 2015 Volkswagen TDI everything. So they managed to put the TDI in a lot of stuff.
Well, what's crazy about this one, I think, is the first one where it's been a buyback of the entire cars.
Right.
And that's where it's unbelievable.
So-
of course, the situation, too.
The
but
situation,
horrible.
yeah. So what they did, we'll get to that in a minute. But I always thought this was fascinating because for once, this isn't a safety thing or really else. This is purely an emissions get around, and it was so clever and built in. And technically, there were no rules against it. What GM would do is the EPA would basically Volkswagen. Sorry, I'm so used to saying GM.
Yeah.
No, and what Volkswagen did, in a nutshell, was there's a section of testing emissions where they not dyno test vehicles, but they put them on rollers like a dyno, and they put them under different loads, and they measure the emissions. So pretty simple. If you had a two-wheel drive, front-wheel drive vehicle, Volkswagen figured out that you could put the car into a mode where it is detecting only the front wheels rolling. It would know it's being tested on a dyno and change its tune to pass the test, essentially.
To not pollute as much.
Yes, to not pollute. It
They
would-
didn't want to add diesel exhaust fluid like most diesels nowadays, so that this was their get around.
Right, and also, like I said, it would affect performance. Like they had, if you drove one of the old TDIs, I remember the first few times driving, I was like, "This is an impressive feeling car." Like a Jetta TDI felt pretty fast. They were torquey, good, like stick shift, fun cars. But anyway, they purposely they went into it knowing, hey, it's fine when it's in dyno mode, it emits this much. when it's on the road, it emits this much. It's like there wasn't a rule against that, so it's fine. But one way or another, it got discovered because this all got them around there's a certain number of noxious gases you can put off, whatever. It got them around that. It got them below that. But anyway, it was discovered, and then it was discovered how they did it, and wow, did the cards fall after that. 11 million vehicles, because it was worldwide.
Right.
This was happening. And like you said, the crazy part is this wasn't, hey, bring it in and get it fixed. You had the option. It was like, you can bring it in and we'll do the fix. And this is where you're talking about everyone didn't want to do it because the fix meant worse performance and worse gas mileage.
They just nerfed the cars
killed
big
it.
time.
Yeah. So it was like my fun, crazy 50 mile per gallon, cool, fun car. I'm going to take it in to make it perform worse and get worse gas mileage. Or they would honestly barely look at the mileage and just be like, we are going to give you this amount of money for your car. And almost every time, especially because you couldn't sell one with this was news, it was like way more than you could ever expect to get from
Oh
the
yeah,
car.
people that had these were getting really good
yes.
numbers.
Euro Asian Bob was one of them.
And my buddy Jared had one
Yeah,
too.
I bet he had some on the lot and was like, oh, sweet.
No, Bob bought it brand new.
Oh.
He was so into these cars, he bought it brand new because he was doing so much bicycle racing all over the country.
Oh, yeah.
Even though he's a car dealer, he just didn't want to trust the old hoopties for all the stuff. So it made sense for him. They weren't that expensive. And he got hit by a semi, kind of sideswiped and spun and had to replace both doors. So it had a bad accident that he had fixed and a ton of miles on it and got within a few grand of what he bought it for
Oh, my
new.
God.
It was insane.
It's crazy. But yeah, I don't have like specific concrete examples, but I do remember a friend who was consulting with me at the time had, I don't know, I mean, I want to say dang near over 100,000 miles, like it heavily used one.
Right.
And it was like an undeniable, like they're offering me 15 or 17 grand for this thing.
Well, some of the numbers
And I was
that
like,
I saw,
dude,
were-
I was like, yeah, well, especially if you had a newer one that wasn't that. If you bought, like, let's just say you had a 2015, like right before they discovered this, and it was like pretty low mileage, they were giving you practically over sticker for it.
yeah, I mean, I think some of the numbers that I saw was like over 50% of the people that turned them in got more than what they paid for it
Right.
out of them.
But every time, like I said, my particular example that I got consulted with at length, it was like, dude, you'll never be able to get that kind of money anywhere else.
So then they were just piled up everywhere. The photos of them, just sitting rotting these new Volkswagens.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what happened to them. Were they destroyed? Were they sent to other countries after they were nerfed?
Weren't they fixed?
I
a
know
lot
they
of them
fixed
were
them, but then
fixed.
but there's not many in the United States anymore. That's the thing. You don't see them as often. So you feel like if they fixed them, then they would be back on the roads here. But they disappeared.
I have a feeling it was like ones under a threshold of mileage got fixed, and ones that, the ones they bought back to make it go away probably got, what was it?
just scrapped.
Yes.
Cash for clunkers
Yeah.
situation where they're just like, we need to have these gone. And like I said, I just remember vividly people being like, I'm not doing the fix and, doing all this stuff. But, it got to the point where you kind of had to. But it was just a huge deal. I remember it very
Well, I mean, I know my friends, both the two that I know that had them, both sold them back.
Yeah, I
because
mean-
they're like, "You're going to give me what for this?" Okay,
Yeah.
problem solved.
And it still takes it. I mean, it's not the same thing at all, but I mean, look at used prices of like a Cayenne diesel.
Oh, God.
It's just for some reason they're fine vehicles, but
No, it's not the same.
It's not the same thing, but
because the requirement for diesels with emissions nowadays, the EGR systems are so
They're nuts.
overpowering that
Yeah.
they're clogging up the intakes on these things and the turbos and all that stuff. So, and then there's the diesel exhaust fluid part of it. So it's really not worth it anymore to own a diesel. And like even if long haul trucking, they're sort of thinking about it now as far as like if you're going to buy a heavy duty truck for trailering. And
Get an old
the
one.
gasser makes more sense now because it has better reliability than the diesels because they are so annoying to deal with as far as the.
What would you say
the
now
jump.
is the last good diesel? Like, if you had to buy a diesel and you didn't have a choice,
None.
like you have to buy a diesel. Is there one you would say
Nope,
that's the last?
I wouldn't do it.
Nothing.
No, I'd go buy
Nothing.
a GM 6.6 V8 like what I have in my van or something like that. I wouldn't do the
And
diesel.
the 6.6 doesn't have the 6.2 problems.
No.
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 It does not.
no, we can skip that. There's a Tesla over the air recall. It's not that interesting because
Yeah.
you
Hit
know,
a button and it's good.
they just were like,
Well, there's
full self-driving stuff was like failing to recognize stop signs.
there's some
and-
funny Cybertruck ones, like the one where the pedals were falling off.
Oh yeah, that one,
Oh my
and
God.
the fix was the screw. It
Yeah,
was
they put a because it delayed the delivery of my Cybertruck because they had to put a rivet in
So stupid.
the brake pedal so the rubber
Yeah.
part didn't fall
Aren't the
off.
panels falling off too? Like,
that's a little exaggerated, but yeah.
They're ripping off in the wind or whatever,
There's-
and car washes.
There's
Yes,
a couple other minor ones that are just kind of like I don't remember these, and they were recent, so I was like, I put it in there. There's an early 2024 Ford Explorer rear end fire risk, which I was like,
All right.
I feel like we
Nice.
should. But I
Didn't know
remember
about
back
this
in the
one, yeah.
90s that there should, there was a thing, but it just says that basically the recall is that substandard welds on rear axle housings allowed grease leaks onto hot brake rotors. Which would
wow.
ignite fires, which would just be a scene when you're pulling up to school.
well, like the Ferrari 458 had that with the glue
yeah,
on the
just
other
in
cars.
the fender lining, yeah.
So the glue would melt and the cars would catch fire,
Yeah.
which was something. But
So, like I said, I thought it was like this one somehow, other than right now, we're breaking it. Hasn't really made the news cycles, but yeah, not a good one. There's another one in June of last year that Stellantis, for pretty much all of their stuff, 2014 through 23, Jeep Grand Cherokee, Chrysler Pacificas, and Rams. Yeah, my ex-girlfriend had a Jeep just like that. Anyway.
Why did we break up with her?
It's she found out I'd been with her cousin.
Wait, what?
Not while I was with her, beforehand.
Wait a minute. What?
No. I said
Tyler,
this.
aren't you glad I just
there's-
dove into this one?
No, there's
I
more
didn't know
to
we
it.
were
let
going
you-
into all of this.
I'm
but-
gonna let you
not.
handle this. I'm just
We're
gonna
not-
sit
I was
back and
trying
drink. I'm
not
good
to.
here.
The
Sorry,
little
Elliot.
it was a much younger cousin. Not, I mean, legal obviously, but yeah, this one she helped babysit and raise or whatever.
I
Elliot
didn't
had
know
hooked
that
up
before
with.
date. I dated her for, I want to say, a week and a half.
Because this woman was older than you that
Yes.
you were dating, but
and then I started dating her, and she was like, "How do you know this person?" And because we met through mutual friends. In fact, her uncle introduced us,
Right.
And all this different stuff went down, and I put it together after we had already been kind of dating after a little while, and she kind of was like, "Oh, that means you must know so and so," and I'm like, "Yeah," and the girl I
Very
dated
well.
for a
Did you
week.
say it like that?
No,
Were you
and
like,
I was like, "Yeah, wow," and she's like, "She's my cousin," and I'm like, "Oh boy," and I sat on that one for a little bit.
You had to.
Because I didn't know that I didn't. It was completely. I didn't even know her.
Literally?
totally. Like it was like, what are the chances of this?
Oh my.
pretty good in Elliot's world, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
well,
that's-
I say if it can happen to you, it's going to happen to you, and it
I
has to do
know.
with
Yeah.
anything with a female.
with your body
But anyway,
count.
she was really pretty and lived in Florida.
body count.
She was really pretty, lived in Florida, and had one of these.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, this was not a dangerous one, but an annoying one. They had a backup camera recall that affected pretty much every camera they made. It's like you put it in reverse black screen. It's a problem because modern cars you can't see out of the back of, so it's annoying.
Well, and it's legally required now for cars that have backup cameras.
Yeah, and interestingly, Doug DeMuro had a little bit to do with this one. He made a 10-minute video about the black screen, about Stellantis having a problem with this or something. I don't remember it at all, but it came up during the research that his video was like got so many views that it made Stellantis be like, "Oh, we should look into this." And it was a very easy fix. And I think even what is it? Yeah, they quoted saying the simplest yet most maddening recall. And of course, Stellantis is notorious for crap quality and dumb things like this to happen. Yeah, let's just skip to the next big one, which I think, like I said, affects. It's big around here because we're truck land.
Right.
This is broken this year, April 2025. GM, very popular for selling V8s, has to recall every single car and truck that they put their 6.2 liter V8 in. And guess what?
Finally.
It's a lot of them.
Finally.
That was a problem.
I
Like,
can't
my God,
believe
is a
how
problem.
long they got away with this.
Yes. So the problem is basically supplier forging and machine variances in connecting rods and crankshafts led to rod bearing wear, engine stalls, and underhood fire. So basically, rod bearings are bad in a lot of these.
Right, because they wanted to get a few more MPGs out of them because of the oil weight, right?
Right.
And yeah, using the different oil, everything wears out quicker. But these, like, you cannot go to an auction and start up a 6.2 and it be good. They are all junk.
It's crazy.
Because
Because this is the upsell motor too. Like this is you can get the 5.3 and then it's like, oh no, but you want the 6.2, and why wouldn't you? Especially if you end up getting a Denali or an Escalade. And imagine spending $100,000+ on an Escalade, and then they're like, also the engine could fail. I mean, you'd be like, oh.
So what's the tell on this? Is it a tick? Like when you start it up? When you're at
yeah,
auction,
it
it's a
clatters.
constant tick. Is it clatter?
They
Yeah.
just they sound dead.
So you just know right
Yeah,
off the bat, and they all. It wasn't. This was more of a when than an if.
Correct.
Right? At this point,
Now,
Well, because you go off of GM's oil change intervals, which are already
too high.
too long, and then they're using a lighter oil to where the engine spins more efficiently and gets a couple more mpg. And then there's bad design. That the oil's obviously is designed for this kind of oil, and they just we're just gonna change that for whatever. It's just
it's
annoying.
It's crazy. I even look at it at stoplights because we see a lot of trucks. We got a lot of trucks around here. Every time one pulls up next to me at the stoplight, I'm like, oh, gotta do the recall on that thing. Yeah. The interesting thing here is every time when I first heard about this, I was like, that's going to be feasibly impossible for GM to replace that many engines. I mean, imagine the back of its service bay. So the official fix is not that. They, according to GM, and of course they're going to undersell this because it's bad. They said, according to their official procedure on here, only 3% of the motors are going to need full replacements. Another higher percentage are going to need new bearings. But most of them, in fact, when you bring it in, when you have a 6.2 to bring it in, are just going to get heavier oil. They're recommended, I forgot what the thin oil they put in it, but now they're going to put 0W40 in it. It's essentially, STP. They're just putting in molasses. And just being like, it's not quite molasses, but you know what I mean. They're putting thicker oil in and going, this'll do.
It's the same with the Hemis and their engine failures. It's the same. Yep. So basically, if you did normal oil change intervals at 5,000-6,000 miles, you'd be fine, and you use the right way to oil. These engines would be fine, but the longer intervals and people will go past that, they're just going off what their dash says in the percentage, and it's smoking them. So like my van, the 6.6 is more of an industrial sort of heavy duty commercial based engine, so it's built a little better, but also because it's doing harder work, they recommend the right oil versus these light duty trucks where they were saying the thinner oil. So it's not as much of an issue, but I change oil on that thing every 5,000 miles or so or less because it doesn't go as much. But
do you think that if you do follow what they say to put thicker oil in, do you think you can get standard life out of that engine, or do you think it's still
if you short up the intervals? But still, they're not. They have the cylinder deactivation stuff. It's very complicated. A lot of oil passages that are very tiny.
I will say that part of the fix is also they update the interval. So now I don't have in there what it is, but instead of 10,000, it's now like 4,000. Like especially for these engines. So now it's like officially for 6.2s with the 0W40. It is a shorter interval and a different filter assembly, not like, whatever. But
if you're sitting at like 50, 60, 70,000 miles in a 5-year-old truck, and you've already been doing it the bad way for this long, you're smoked. So buying one of these used is such a bad idea. Such a bad idea, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, I don't have the crazy numbers on this one. I know it's affected 600,000-ish vehicles. It's still an ongoing, pretty new recall. We'll see. Like I said, it's already not good reputation. I don't know how mainstream this one is because, we're in the industry, so like I've got an ear to the ground for stuff like this. But, so it hasn't been that Ford sensationalized, these things are going to blow up thing. But it definitely rubs people the wrong way because there's essentially any way you slice it, you're not getting a 6.2 in any GM anything for under 60 grand.
Well,
you spent some money.
My favorite truck that I've had was a 2017 Sierra Denali 6.2. As ultimate package, so it had mag ride.
Oh yeah, it's the
and
best.
they only did that for a couple of years. Now they switched back to air ride on some of them. Nothing rides like these mag ride trucks. They are unbelievably good. So I had one as a work truck for when I was opening Freddy's. Sold it, and then in the last couple of years, I thought, man, I just want to get one of those used as sort of like a hoopty version around 100,000 miles, and I'll just rock it, because it was like the best truck I think I've ever had. And what has to have the ultimate with that mag ride? I go look every single startup, just like
the motors are toast.
They're smoked.
Yeah,
that's too bad.
It's a bummer. Like I said, as a GM guy too, I'm like, I hate that I have to end this list with that. I mean, like I said, another ongoing one that I just found out about this week, which to put not to kick a dead horse here with Nissan and Infiniti, but they're having to recall all of their variable compression engines, which is pretty much like all of the Rogues and.
But they won't recall their CVTs.
No, they just know that that's an issue.
Head in the sand that one.
Well, nobody changes the fluid on the CVTs.
And they bind
that's
up.
what they
just
do.
looks like
But
a mess of springs.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing. That's a lot of burying their heads in the sand. But GMC, they had to finally do something because there's just so many engines and everybody knew at this point, and dealers were screaming at them and all this. They finally had to do something about it. Toyota had their rash of failures on a bad batch of engines right off the bat with the new Tundras, which has left a bad taste in people's mouth as far as the V6 twin turbo
Oh, yeah, right off
having
the bat.
metal shavings in it, like in production or whatever. Which, okay, fine, they can get past that, but this one, it's so long.
Bad.
It's so
bad.
long, and they knew about it. They knew that it was inferior product, failing past warranty for so long, but they didn't care.
Yeah. This was the example, like you talked about in the beginning, of them kind of knowing and being like, let it ride. Like, let's see, let's just.
Because okay, yeah,
Not enough people have complained about it, but it snowballed into
they're
an
going to
issue.
blow up at 100 to 130,000 miles. That's not my problem. That's past warranty. That's
Exactly. And if any manufacturer can know that a part will fail at 101,000 miles, let it happen.
Well, now isn't the same problem happening with the Escalade Vs, the new Escalade Vs? I'm seeing a lot on the boards about those motors failing.
Well, so those
quick.
are, that's the LT5. They put that in a lot of things, the Corvettes and everything like that. I mean, they had overheating issues in 2015 in the Corvette, but I haven't heard a lot of just outright failures.
It's the new ones. It's the new
Yeah.
ones. I've
yeah,
seen
the
a
new
lot of the
V-side,
forums.
I haven't heard
I
anything.
think it's still the same motor. I just don't know. Like, that's such a limited production vehicle.
It's
I don't
probably
know.
working pretty hard to pull around an Escalade.
God, yeah.
Goodness.
Pulling
yeah.
your boat with
All
the,
the drive.
the
That thing-
performance motor and all that stuff. Yeah,
It's just like
that's,
the Hellcat motors when you put them in Trackhawks and Rams. It's like, well, now it's working a lot harder.
right. Makes
Yeah.
sense. Well, that's a fun trip down Hoopty memory lane for the
Lots of
Hoopty
stuff.
cast. Very, very good. So, yeah, that's fun. Rob is coming next week. Hot. What are we talking
right.
about next week, Rob?
Well, last week we know we did the cars that alienated their fan bases, and unfortunately, Mr. Hoover disagreed with.
It just alienated you.
Yeah, just you.
You're not
And
doing another list again, are you?
I'm doing another list.
Oh, no.
Well, this is a better list. This is
Okay.
a list of cars that are so unreliable that we know are unreliable that we want anyways. Cars
So-
that we know are junk. We know that they're extremely crazy to maintain. They break every single day, yet we still will go to Facebook Marketplace, Auto Tempest, Auto Trader, where we can go to find these because when they work, they're amazing.
So people that are in abusive relationships with cars, basically.
Correct.
I
It's
own
basically-
several of these.
It's Elliot's life.
It's
I was
literally
like,
Elliot's his dating life with cars is what we're
Well,
doing.
he does with cars too.
I have it with cars too. I have a couple of.
We all do. Jake does. Jake, you just got something new, and I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
gonna be
I
on that list.
Yes, but it's nice to have some personal stability. Versus Elliot just likes his life to be completely chaotic everywhere.
I don't love it.
Where it's not just cars.
Well, I don't love it. That's why I've enjoyed this week. It was very peaceful.
that's why you really need those cats. Those
I
cats
do. They
really
soothe me.
They soothe
Anyway,
Yeah.
y'all, thank you so much for watching and listening. And yeah, we do have a Patreon, which is linked below, where you can join, contribute, interact with us.
Please.
And
Please.
yeah, there's a whole world of podcasts as far as Spotify, Apple Podcasts that I'm learning as I go. And hopefully, you all enjoyed this one. Leave a feedback and a comment as well.